What's the biggest plot twist you've seen in real life? Little town I grew up in had these two car dealerships on opposite sides of town, one Chevy, one Ford. They were bitter rivals. Attack ads, shit-talking salesmen, billboard wars, you name it. When the owner of the Chevy dealership died, it came out he'd also owned the Ford dealership by way of a shell company. No one saw that coming, including a lot of the higher-ups who worked at the dealerships. My grandfather's funeral, he was always a fairly reserved and distant father as far as I understood, would fit the stereotype of a northern dock worker who comes home expecting dinner to be on the table and then goes to the pub all evening via the bookies. Anyway, an unsurprising heart attack later. We're all gathered for his funeral. We're a big but close family, so we know everyone, including his friends. However, one guy turns up about the same age as my dad and his siblings who nobody knows. Long story short, turns out it was my grandfather's son, from another family, from another marriage. That went on for as long as his marriage to my grandmother. My grandfather had maintained 2 marriages over 40 years, having 7 children with my grandmother and just the one with this other woman. They knew about our family and kept away, and apparently my grandmother knew about them but kept quiet. Turns out he wasn't going to the pub every night. What was your high school's wildest NSFW scandal? Dubbed the urinator, they kept finding urine puddles in the school hallways, stairwells and the handicap elevator. The school had cameras everywhere, but they never saw someone just peeing in the hallway. No one knew how it kept happening without someone being caught. Turns out someone was peeing in a Gatorade bottle, and in between classes when halls were full they would just randomly spill it somewhere and no one around them noticed. The method only got found out when the bottle with some leftovers was found in a trash, but they still never found who actually was doing it. We had a charity thing in high school where you'd raise money for cancer. The amount being raised was shown on a thermometer, and every limit would force a teacher to shave their head. On the very top was this French teacher. Anyways, the initiative was due to finish after lunch recess. A bunch of people are in gym shaving their heads and trying to raise money. Bills are flying down from the bleachers and we raised just enough money right at the bell. The French teacher was not down and ran away, causing all the students to chase her into the bathroom, banging on the door and shit. She soon after had a bit of a mental breakdown. Someone at school found out her lava life profile and she left. Also, some students stole all the money raised in the initiative from the gym. What is the scariest, creepiest thing you have seen, heard? About 10 years ago I had just started dating this girl I'd had a massive crush on. We were fresh out of high school and her parents went out of town for a weekend. I was going to finally sleep in her bed with her and I was amped. I have a bit of trouble sleeping in a new place, so I was awake after she'd already knocked out. I tried to keep my eyes closed and let sleep come. Just I started to drift off, I heard a sound like scratching on wood, quick and getting faster. I opened my eyes and oriented myself again. It wasn't scratching, it was whispering, and it was getting louder. My girlfriend was rapidly whispering, "She is the devil in disguise, she is the devil in disguise." I turned my head to look at her and her eyes were wide open, looking directly at me but glossed over like she was looking through me. The whispering continued until she stopped mid-sentence. "She is the devil in disguise, she is the devil, he can't help you." She closed her eyes and rolled over, leaving me with a very what the fuck feeling. I asked her about it in the morning and she said she used to talk in her sleep a lot as a kid. I still have no idea if she was. Spouses who married the cool girl boy from your high school, what are they like now? My mom was the elite Atlanta debutante and lived a very cushy life at a budding Miami country club. Beautiful and very popular at the private school. My dad grew up on a farm in Virginia. They weren't poor but they were definitely not refined. Eventually my father's family made it down to Miami after selling the farm. He became the lifeguard at the country club pool where my mom spent days lounging about. My parents say they saw each other and that was it. The scandal was great. The debutante and the lowly lifeguard. They just celebrated 54 years of marriage. My lowly lifeguard father made quite the life for my mom regardless of what all those elite twats said was going to happen. She gladly left the country club life for him and they are still so utterly in love it's crazy. He carries a photo of her at the pool where they met. The only references she makes to being that girl are that they proved everyone wrong. They are beautiful and I love their story. Not me, but my mom married my dad who was hot shit. They met in college when he was an absolute hellion, but since then he became a doctor, still a really fun dude. He's also a licensed contractor, so when he was bored he built a 6,000 square foot barn in our backyard over 10 years, complete love on his own. Absolutely stand up dude. Girls, what was the most obvious hint you dropped and the guy just didn't get it? My buddy in college was stressing over when to make the move to kiss a girl he liked. While we encouraged him to not wait for the perfect moment and just go for it, he admitted he should have tried to kiss her when they were in the shower. "It's snowing. Just stay here. You can sleep in my bed." We were discussing costumes and I sent a picture of me in my buntsuit and said I'd need help out of it. His response was telling me he hoped my roommate was home or that would suck. I had to tell him I was implying I'd like him to take it off me and it took him a minute to catch up. Friend was complaining he was hot because of his long sleeve shirt. I said, "Oh, I'm sure you'd be just as hot without the shirt." He was so unaware, but I finally just kissed him. I once was modeling clothes I planned to take on vacation for my boyfriend. After showing off a couple of outfits, I told him to close his eyes and changed into lingerie. He opened his eyes and I asked him what he thought. His jaw dropped and he said, "You can't wear that outside." I put my clothes back on. I went out of my way to come in early and talk to this guy every day for like a month before someone else told him I was into him. Also repeatedly told him I liked him. He thought I was just being nice. When did your feeling about something is very wrong here turned out to be true? My brother and dad lived in a different state and my brother was in the hospital recovering from an accident. My first weird feeling was when I was booking the flight to see him and I was considering cancellation insurance. What if something happens to my dad and I have to fly out sooner? I shrugged it off. My dad was doing fine. 2 weeks later my brother tells me that my dad was visiting and went home early because he had evidently caught something and wasn't feeling well. I got a really bad feeling and called him. It went to voicemail. He did say he was going to bed early and it was about bedtime for him. I said I heard he wasn't feeling well and wanted to check in and that I really loved him. I felt weird, but my dad would have been royally pissed if I called 911 to his house because he was under the weather and decided to sleep it off. I decided to wait until the morning. Morning comes. Nothing. My brother sent his friend over. No answer. Friend goes in the house. My dad had passed away. I wish I had called. It just didn't seem that serious and I have a penchant for overreacting. The last thing he told my brother was, "I'll be fine, I'm just going to bed." The thing that got me was the voicemail. I looked through his messages. Mine was read. If nothing else, I know he listened to that voicemail. One of the last things he heard was me telling him I loved him, who is someone that was mocked at the moment but then proven right years later. Joseph Lister first proposed that germs caused post-operative infections and recommended that surgical instruments be sterilized between operations. People thought he was nuts. Lindy Chamberlain, a dingo really did eat her baby. John Snow in 1854 tried to tell everyone about cholera and how it was being caused by the water supply. No one believed him until he took illegal action and saved many lives. Ignaz Semmelweis, first doctor to champion hand washing as a means to prevent spreading infection. Everyone made fun of him. That kid that was crying about how they were treating Britney Spears. Greg Lehman. In 2001 he said Lance Armstrong was probably doping. He was threatened. He took a huge image hit and his business opportunities suffered. He never let up on Lance despite the media campaign's threats, damage to his reputation and business, and the recrimination of his peers in the cycling community. Until surprise surprise in 2012 it came out that Lance Armstrong was doping. Who could have foreseen that? If only someone had told us. Oh wait, Greg Lehman did. A decade ago. The doctor in China who was arrested for trying to stop the spread of COVID from the start. Redditors who grew up filthy rich. What did you think was normal till you learned otherwise? My family was broke as hell, but my mom was and still is a teacher at this really nice private school, which was the only reason my brother and I could attend. Everyone's parents were doctors and lawyers, you get the idea, but my brother and I were being raised by a single mom who had just relocated. We were living in a trailer park in the middle of nowhere for the cheap ass rent. We didn't always know when the next meal was coming. One day during lunch the kids noticed that all I have is a peanut butter sandwich and a tiny bag of pretzels. One dude says, "Wow, you must really not be hungry." Since I was 6 and just as clueless to any other lifestyle as he was, I just straight up told him we don't have any more food. I had to explain it a couple of times before he realized. Lunch bro sheepishly asks if I would like some of his food. That orange and baggie of Cheetos were the start of a now 20-year-long friendship.
Spread your wings and fly, go!